What's up, everybody? It's your favorite show, Get a Bucket. I'm your host, Trey, and as usual, hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day. Today, I feel like I've been talking way too much about UNC, but here we go. We're right back at it because they've been in the headlines real recent. Recently, they have fired their coach, Hubert Davis. Hubert took them to the championship game, 3 points away from winning it just in 2022. And, here we are now today. I've already talked about that episode. I've already talked about that on the episode, so y'all can go back and listen to that if you want to. But we heard some names that they were interested in looking at, like Tommy Lloyd from Arizona, whose team went to the Final Four. Dusty May from Michigan, who's the eventual champion this season. Billy Donovan, he did used to coach in college. Now he went to the NBA and was coaching for the Bulls. And then we had Dan Hurley on UConn's team, like the coach who just went to the title game. So those were the options that we were hearing, right? And lo and behold, Mike Malone ends up being the new head coach of UNC. I said Mike Malone, which keep in mind, Mike Malone was fired, and I can say recently because it's still within a year, but he was fired by the Nuggets after winning a title in just 2023. So that's a really quick time. He got fired on April 8th, 2025. Now, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, they still had 3 games left to the end of the season. So they didn't even want Buddy to finish out the season. They wanted Buddy to get out as quick as possible. I thought one thing that could have been interesting was if they fired him on April 1st, because that would have made some news. Oh, this April Fool's Day, they just trolling right now. No, we being so serious. Like, Buddy gone. So again, Mike, that's who we talk about. Michael Malone. All right. Now again, he is a champion head coach. I'll give you that, ladies and gentlemen. But like, how much of that was really him? Because I mean, he behind Nikola Jokic. Like, it'd be one thing if we can say that they've won multiple championships, but then again, he probably would have got fired, right? So again, there's a couple question marks about Mike as a head coach. Now, I thought UNC was going to keep it in the family, and I guess they got a little tricky with this one. They thought outside the box because Mike Malone's niece does go to UNC for volleyball. So I guess we got to be more specific when we say keep it in the family, right? So that made me think, well, dang, what have the previous head coaches been doing at UNC? Like, were they purely from UNC? Have they reached out? Like, talk to me. What's up? So I first wondered how many coaches there were. There were 19 head coaches dating back to 1911, to the 1911 season. Yo to the noobs. If you know, you know. So Roy Williams was, in fact, the 18th head coach in UNC's program history. Hubert Davis was the 19th. So now there will be a 20th in Mike Malone. Now, UNC's timeline, this is the timeline I have specifically for Mike Malone. I think the precedent has been set. He got 5 seasons to show something. Because, again, the precedent was already set because Hubert Davis was at UNC for 5 seasons. And the man went to a championship game. Now, if you can get fired and you went to the title game, yes, you lost, yes, y'all were up, I hear all that stuff, cool. But there were justifications as to why your teams lost, maybe outside of 2023. I think it's fair to say Mike Malone should get fired if he doesn't have a title appearance or if the optics of UNC is the same. Because, again, the precedent is right there, ladies and gentlemen. Now, there's a little caveat to that, because if he's getting, to the Elite Eight and the Final Four every single season, all right, cool, I might be able to stomach that. But, again, at minimum, you need to change the optics of UNC, because UNC is starting to be questioned, should it be considered a blue blood still? They've been not that relevant. They've been relevant, but not that relevant. That was dating back to the Roy Williams end of his era tenure. So, again, it's been like that for a little second now. And I got to say, too, if we don't fire Mike Malone, if he isn't able to perform or if he's at the same level as Hubert Davis, I know there are going to be talks about, is this a racial issue? Because, again, Hubert Davis was black. Or is black, not was. You can't change that. And Mike Malone is white. So, again, that racial conversation will spew out there. I promise y'all. Now, how does Mike need to win his job to keep his job? Well, he has to win the top recruits, which, to be clear, Hubert Davis did get 3 top 10 high school recruits in back-to-back seasons, 1 each, but that's still 3 nonetheless. Then, well, respectfully, Mike Malone has to reach the Elite Eight during his tenure because, and let's be clear now, if you can win an NBA championship, I think it's fair to say you can at least get to the Elite Eight. And I was hesitant because I was about to say Sweet 16. But I think Elite Eight is fair to say. Because, again, it's UNC's program. You should be able to still get quality recruits. You're the coach who won a championship with Nikola Jokic. If you can't swing that, I don't know what to tell you. You also got to win the ACC regular season title as well as the ACC title, meaning you got to have the best record in the ACC, at least during your tenure. And you got to win an ACC tournament title as well. Now, I'm curious how the players who are already recruited are going to play for Mike Malone. Will they want to transfer? Or will they stick it out with Buddy and then eventually hit the portal? I'm curious how that goes. But let's not forget, too, if you transfer, you only got one time to transfer, too, which I guess Donald Trump wanted to intervene in sports. But that's what happens now. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm curious how the players actually play for Mike Malone. Now, the aftermath for UNC. When I say aftermath, I'm talking about if Mike Malone ends up getting fired. Will UNC go back to the UNC alums? Like I said, keep it in the family might need to be changed to keep it in the basketball player alum family specifically. Maybe. Now, I thought it was interesting to note that Dean Smith did not play at UNC. He played at Kansas State, if I'm not mistaken. Roy Williams did, in fact, play at UNC. Hubert Davis played at UNC. And then Mike Malone probably watched these guys play or coach at UNC. So I'll be curious to see how keeping it outside of the family works going forward. But Mike Malone, as an NBA head coach going to college basketball, that is also something to look forward to watching as well, too, because we've seen college coaches get called up to the NBA ranks. Hell, we almost saw Coach K coach the Lakers. I don't think he was going to do it, but there was a discussion for that. How many times? I just told you. Billy Donovan, Chicago Bulls. He used to coach Florida. So, again, we've seen, like, Brad Stevens, Butler, now then went to the Celtics. Now there's, like we've seen college coaches escalate to the NBA ranks. We don't always see NBA coaches go to coach college. Now, we've seen that a little more recently in sports. Shout out Bill Belichick. But, again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm curious if UNC will if they end up needing to fire Mike Malone. Will they keep it in the family in terms of basketball players who have played at UNC? And I'm curious who they would try to go after. I've heard Jerry Stackhouse. I've heard Kenny the Jet Smith. It'd be interesting to see what happens. But, ladies and gentlemen, I will be paying attention to UNC over the next 5 seasons because of Michael Malone. So, I mean, let's see what happens. I'm sure the Duke-UNC rivalry will be there still. So, of course, I'm going to put eyes on UNC. But, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very curious what UNC is going to look like over the next 5 seasons. Will they get back to their winning ways? Will they change how the program is viewed? Or will they keep the status quo? Or will they slip? That can be talked about as well, too. But, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm curious what's your thoughts about UNC's hiring of Michael Malone as the new head coach. How surprised were you when you heard it? Do you like it? Do you get a good gut feeling about it? I'm curious. But, ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude the end of the episode. So please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, tell anyone who's anyone about the show. My name is Trey. I'm the host of Get a Bucket. I hope you are all having a good one. Take care.